To the flag,
Flag
There you go.
United States of
into
America.
America.
and to the
to the republic,
For which
stands
one
one
nation,
nation,
Under
God,
indivisible.
indivisible,
Liberty.
Liberty.
justice and
for all.
indivisible, liberty, and justice. So we have public comment that came in late, and I think, Elizabeth, you're going to read that in when we get down to Mixville. Okay,
Yeah, I got one other one, Pat.
okay, go ahead.
Henry McNulty, a resident, he had called in the other day about the linear trail. He said that there's signs that say no motorized bikes.
Yeah.
So he wanted, yeah, he wanted to know if segways or electric bikes are okay.
I would say no. I think the police department would say no.
So because I asked him, I said, do you see segways? And he says all the time. I don't know if that's true because I'm not on it.
Well, I've been on it recently because I'm trying to do a little project for us. I haven't seen them, but doesn't mean that they're not there. But
I haven't
Mike?
seen a Segway, but I've seen motorized bikes on there before.
Yeah, no electronic, right? No electric.
No motors.
Yeah, no motors.
Yeah, but the electric bikes are kind of different. I mean, I think that's something we maybe want to at least look at. You know, we don't have to accept right
Yeah.
now, but examine.
Same thing. It's a moped. What's the difference?
It's not a moped. It's
I
straight.
know, a scooter. Anything that you don't have to, you pedal to do is electric and motorized and
Right, but some people who have needs who may not be able to function a regular bike but want to bike. So I would just recommend that we look at them.
Yeah, what do you do with people that are mobility challenged that have motorized,
yeah,
whatever they have? Yeah.
large.
I think that's a completely different.
That's not a bicycle. That's not a
Different
Segway.
situation.
That's
Segway's
for
different, but I'm saying
necessity.
electric bikes
That's
are
not,
different.
an electric bike is a bicycle with a motor on it. It's not a wheelchair. A wheelchair, I have no problem with.
I just recommend we explore.
Okay. I mean, we could talk about it or take a look at it. See what other trails do, I guess.
Okay. Does anybody have any thoughts?
Can you hear me?
Hey, Steve.
I'm at a lacrosse game, so
I was gonna say, what are you in a shed?
He's in the garage.
trespass.
out in the doghouse.
Does anybody have any comments?
Yeah, I agree with Fiona because we don't want to make a quick decision that could restrict certain people from a need that they have. So we just want to be careful of our verbiage, that's all. Maybe a handicapped person needs a motorized, could use a motorized bike, for instance. Is that what you're saying, Fiona?
Yeah, I know they're not like a scooter. They're very
Right.
different. And I just think we should look at them because I think they're different from a Segway. I know what a Segway is.
Yeah.
And I don't
Right.
think Segways are necessarily appropriate for the trail, but the electric bike, we just should look at them, I think, and we should think about being inclusive with our community.
Who's our, I can't think of fellow's name. Someone at the town hall. He would give us a lot of insight to that. I'll find that out.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Okay.
What are you thinking about, Pat?
You've
Pardon
got our
me?
town planner.
Yes.
Oh, Bill Volker? Okay.
Yes. Because remember when we were talking about the farm and planning for the farm and stuff, he brought that point up about any kind of trails we made, how they should be handicap accessible. So now we have a trail that is handicap accessible, and I'll bet you he would have some pretty significant insight onto what we should allow or shouldn't allow.
Great.
But so I think that's a good idea, Fiona. Will.
All right. I could follow up with them and send them an email. I'll copy you on it.
Okay. All right. So, acceptance of the minutes of the March 3, 2021 meeting. I just want to clarify one thing. When I read the minutes, it looked like I was opposed to the development of the farm. And I'm not opposed to it. What I was trying to get across is if we're adding space and we're adding parks, we need to also add maintainers. And it should be part of what we're doing, part of the budget. So if we're requesting so much money for so many fields or whatever we're requesting, we just can't keep piling on the same, more workload to the same people who are out there. They need some help.
I agree.
So that being said, does anybody else have anything to say about the prior meeting? No? Okay, take a motion. Anybody
I
have a
motion to accept.
Okay.
Accept last meeting minutes.
Second.
Fiona, your second? Okay. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Log me as an abstention as I wasn't present at the meeting. Robert Santoro. Thank you.
Me too.
Duly noted.
Pat, I think I missed my shot to read that in. I forgot that public comment comes before the minutes. Did you want me to read that other email in that we received? That was separate from the one John just mentioned.
Well, John, when John and I spoke earlier, he thought you'd read it in down in Mixville because it has to do with Mixville. But
That's fine. Just
okay.
let me know when you want it.
Okay. Mark, how are you?
Good, how you doing? Updates?
Up
Yeah,
there.
yeah, we're lining the fields, putting everything away from winter, doing the post-winter inspection of the vehicles and the equipment. We opened the bathrooms. We're doing part of the rebuilding of the infields at McNamara started. One's complete, the other one's about halfway done. And we'll continue on with the rest. We're just gearing up towards for spring sports.
What are we doing as far as bathrooms go with precautions?
We're doing the normal cleanings.
Mhm.
And they'll come in on the weekends like before, empty out the trash and do a quick cleaning.
So we're not leaving any type of hand cleanser or anything in there.
Not at this time. The
Okay.
crews have, they're actually spray guns they can go in. It's almost like a paint sprayer that they can just sanitize it with every so often with that.
Okay. And that's once a week they're doing that?
No, they do it every day. They clean
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
first thing in the morning.
Okay. Anything else on the parks?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, we had, actually Mark's guys took down the backstop a couple months ago over at Mixville. They limbed up those arborvitaes by the changing rooms.
Uh-huh.
And then today, Hinding Tennis was out at the basketball court repairing all of the cracks and then get the court ready for sealant and then all new court game lines.
Okay.
Well, Mark, any word on the beach sand?
We met with the engineers last week. So it'll be going to wetlands soon.
Okay,
And then as soon as we get the approval, we'll be bringing it in.
okay.
Is that sterile beach sand that you're bringing in?
We haven't found a vendor yet, but when we do, we'll definitely make sure it's approved for beach use.
All right, Pat.
Okay. Oh, Peter's not here. Communications. I think my report will sort of tie in with new business. John, you want to do old business?
Yeah, I mean, there's really, other than my report, I don't have any other old business. It was just all new business stuff that I wanted to bring up.
Okay. So, Paul and Fiona were working on Mixville, our a plan for Mixville. I know Fiona was initially asking about, do we bring somebody in to do a master plan? And I know Paul sent some things out which are sort of short-term planning. So if each one of you want to tell us what you're thinking, we'll give you the floor right now. Fiona, you want to go first?
Actually, I'll defer to Paul since he has some short-term plan.
You want to, okay, I can run down. Actually, I gotta put a light on. I can't see in here. Hang on. I'll set the lights. I'll be right back. Hang on. There you go. I'm back. Yeah, what I tried to do for the Mixville item is really talk about the experience the person gets when they come to Mixville. What they see first, which is the parking lot and the guardhouse. They drive up the driveway. They see all the beach items, the pavilion, the summer camps, the recreation. So really, I just did it as, how does the person get to Mixville? They get parking passes. Now, where do they go? Do they go to the guardhouse? Do they go to the park and rec office? Do they do it online? Do they use money? Do they use credit card? Pricing, non-resident, resident, same day, in advance. So I kind of made a checklist that I sent to John and Paul. I think Fiona, I sent it to you as well, just to give you a heads up. And really, it really talks about, or the outline I did really talks about the parking lot. Do we have somebody in the guardhouse? Of course we do. Do we have somebody patrolling it, like a ranger or a police officer coming through the parking lot? I don't know, because that costs money. Do we have a lifeguard? That's another person on the property. So really, these are all just questions I want to put down, and we could add to it, subtract to it, whatever. So first things first, guardhouse. We have a gate. Who's in the guardhouse? Does the guardhouse have money? Probably not. So does he have a scanner to scan the credit card? If people want to buy, if we allow people to buy passes at the on-site, I don't know. Do we? We want them to buy in advance. To buy in advance online at the Park and Rec building. Stuff like that we need to talk about. Really, the parking lot is another problem too. Police drive through once in a while, or do we have a park ranger there for most of the day? And then you have garbage pickup. Who picks up the garbage? Maintenance, bathrooms, overall beach cleanup, cutting overgrown brush around the ponds. That's really a big thing too. How the ponds get overgrown. So do the parks people do that? How often do we do that? Just to like give it a facelift, and then figure out what else we want to do. Basketball. John, you mentioned the disc golf that you might want to try to do. So, the attendant, full-time, part-time, beach, lifeguard, or you swim at your own risk. Do you allow fishing, sailing, canoeing? We have summer camp. We have a playground. We have basketball. We have volleyball. So I just made a kind of and I can send it to everybody else as well on the commission, the outline. Really, it's just a overall listing of what basically is there or not there, or what should be there, maintenance wise and patrol wise, and overseeing, like a lifeguard. Do we have a lifeguard all the time, or just on weekdays, or just on weekends, part-time, full-time? It just becomes, do we have the money for it? So, and I think passes are the biggest thing. Non-resident and resident, where to buy them, how to buy them. I don't think we want money in the guardhouse, the kid taking money in the guardhouse. We've talked about that in the past. So does he have do we allow him to buy it, the swipey thing for the credit card? Can we patrol that? Can we oversee that? 'Cause some people get denied parking passes. They park on the street and they walk in. How do you stop that? It's just questions that need to be answered, really. But if we figure out how to sell the tickets, and then whether it's parking or the pavilion, because I know right now the pavilion, you rent the pavilion, John, through the Park and Rec Department's website, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So, I mean, do we do that with the parking lot? Do we do that? Is there a separate fee for parking?
Yeah, so hold on. Elizabeth, you want to take a little stab at this right from the beginning? I mean, so Paul, we're getting the new guard shack or the new gatehouse. So
Right.
the new gatehouse is coming May 26th. We were able
Okay.
to secure a purchase order. The deadline's close before the weekend of Memorial Day, but at least we're going to have it in place. Public Works is scheduled to call before you dig to demo the current one. And we're working out the logistics with DPW as far as electrical, and then with Apex, the town's tech vendor for a mobile hotspot, so that we
Okay.
could take care of, same day sales or it'll run our rec track management software.
Okay.
So we'll be able to have, I think Elizabeth is going to have a card swipe there. And we'll be able to take care of, right from the beginning. And then we do sell the season passes at the office. I don't know if we're going to be selling season passes on the site. We haven't really talked about it as a staff, but something that we're going to be going over pretty soon in the next couple weeks.
No
We are
credit card?
so
You take cash, you take check, you take,
so credit card debit on location.
okay.
I would really not prefer to have any checks or cash there,
Right, on location, of course.
but certainly they could do that all at the office, and they could do it online. We're proposing, and tomorrow night's our budget hearing with the town council. So we are proposing for 2 park rangers.
Oh, you are?
2 park rangers, one to work out of the, like split their shift, some walking around the park, and then while they're not doing that, the other one is at the gatehouse. The Public Works has maintainers there during the week, or they have a parks crew member there.
Yeah.
But on the weekends that we have park rentals at the pavilions, they do have people that go in Saturday and Sundays to check the bathrooms and take care of the rubbish.
Yeah, overall, yeah.
I mean, the lifeguards, Elizabeth could talk a little bit more about that. I know it predates me, but at one point there were lifeguards there, but there's a whole story behind all that. If we're going to be looking to promote Mixville into a greater family destination than what it is, then perhaps maybe down the road, that's something that we need to, maybe not this budget, because it's already on its way, but maybe in, future budgets. Elizabeth can talk about about boats or canoes or kayaks. And, I've been getting some calls about dads that want to go out in a kayak and fish from the kayak.
Yeah.
But I don't think that we allow that only for our camps. I know Elizabeth had a call last summer about paddle boards. It's probably a good place to do paddle boards unless you want to fall in with the snakes. Not what I want to do, but those are just some of the highlights. Maybe Elizabeth, you could elaborate a little bit more from the gate into the park and about some of the stuff on the shoreline.
Sure. So from the gate, we do have that new gate coming in, and we'll have the software out there so people will be able to buy passes there. It is preferred that they pre-purchase them. It's going to help them out a lot. And prior to COVID, we did allow people to purchase their passes online, season passes or day passes online in advance of going to the park. And the online pass, they would purchase a sticker and they would, we would mail it. So it took like a day or so. It all depends on how quick the mail is. They would buy it online and we would mail them the sticker. But until they received the sticker in the mail, they would be able to show the receipt to the gate attendant saying, I bought this. And we accepted the receipt for about a week saying, okay, great, you match, your license plate matches, you're allowed in. So we do accommodate people that way. It was a great way to help people. We had some people buy them online that year, but most people still preferred to come into the office. After last year, we had a lot of sales online. So I think more and more people figured out how to get through the online system and purchase the passes online. But we would accept credit cards on site. We don't really want to take checks on site because depending on where people are coming from, and it's let's say a $10 check, the work to go back and collect if the check ends up bouncing is a lot of manpower on our side for a very small dollar amount. So that becomes a challenge. So I think we would only take credit cards on site. But in our office, we could probably take either or because people are buying them way in advance. And the second ranger, provided that it's approved in the budget, would be responsible on the weekends for going around and picking up trash and just kind of helping people with general questions out at the park. And as far as lifeguards go, it is not included in this year's budget. It is a very costly endeavor, and it is very challenging to find enough staff to have the lifeguards out there because you need to have really 3 lifeguards on site. You can't just have one because 2 lifeguards are required for any rescue, and they can't be up for the full day. It's going to require breaks and rotations to be effective lifeguards. So it's not just putting one person, it's a matter of adding 3. And then what hours, and you need more than that. And most of the lifeguards in town work at the pool or they work at private clubs. There just aren't as many lifeguards available as you might think. The pay rate for lifeguards doesn't differ greatly from minimum wage, and people have a lot of responsibility on their shoulders and don't like working for the bare minimum. So they find other more lucrative positions where they can get paid for lifeguarding. So that's as far as the lifeguards go. We are planning on having camp out there. The Mixville Adventure Camp will be back, and we will have, provided that we can figure out how to safely integrate swimming into our day camp operations. We'll be bringing that back and having lifeguards. We actually have a meeting tomorrow with the Connecticut Recreation and Parks Association, and we're going to be talking about some of those intricacies of how do you get the campers to be swimming safely while maintaining cohorts and distancing. And it's going to be an interesting juggle this summer. So we're going to work on that. Boating has historically been allowed for camps only because we do have lifeguards and the boats are locked up in the shed there. The town ordinance, I believe, actually prohibits boating at this point, except with the permission of the director. So the town ordinance is kind of what sets that. And we did a few years ago, we had a program, I think it was a 1-day paddleboarding lesson out at Mixville. So we did offer that as a program, but our contact for who was the instructor has since fallen through. So we didn't have it the next year. And then last year was COVID. So it could be something to bring back, but I don't think with some uncertainties still surrounding COVID that this year is the time to bring that back. Perhaps next year would be better to try and reinvigorate that. And last summer, we also had our summer intern. One of his projects was to try and figure out how we could do boat rentals at Mixville. But that again involved a lot of lifeguards and figuring out the timing and fees and reservation system. And we didn't quite nail it all down because it was a very large endeavor and we weren't sure that we would have, definitely wouldn't be able to cover the expense with just the boat rentals. So it would have to be something that was absorbed and provided as a service by the town. So that's something else there.
Elizabeth, what about, I know that so you're going to meet with an association, you said, to what, brainstorm about lifeguards?
Yeah, we're just going to be talking to all the different other camps around the state and what they're doing, not about lifeguards, but about how to have the campers swimming during the summer, because the current state rules about swimming. Yep.
There were times where Mixville would actually close. Like I was just thinking for the break periods, like if the lifeguard had to take a break, if there was one on duty, the lake swimming would stop for 15 minutes. And that was also a way to make sure no one was in the water and those kind of creative ideas, maybe, so you wouldn't have to have 2 lifeguards on.
You would definitely have to have 2, but that could possibly Because you have to have 2 lifeguards for a rescue, and you always have to be
Okay.
prepared for a rescue, or else there's no reason
So
in having a
maybe we could
lifeguard.
think of just certain days of the week that we could have some lifeguard swimming.
Yeah.
I
One of
think
the
we
con-
should.
one of the concerns we had when we talked about just doing weekends only was what kind of liability does that ensue if people don't know necessarily which days there are and are not lifeguards?
Well-
That was a concern that the town had. Was it better to have it staffed never and appropriately signed, or have lifeguards on some days?
Well,
So
possibly long-term planning for this with Sheila to maybe be able to use some of the people at the pool. And that, I mean, there should be some sort of schedule that we could come up with to share staff. And the hours should probably just stay consistent with the days, so that could be posted for the community. And I think it's just something that's important enough for us to take a stronger look at it. That's all my input.
Yeah, no, Karen, and I agree, but I think that we probably have to draft some sort of a proposed budget so that the town council is aware of, what increase in cost that may be, because they may just nix it from their side. But I agree, if we're going to promote the waterfront and promote activities, it just,
Right.
to me, it makes sense. It's tough during the summer to go to sleep sometimes and know that that waterfront is open and there's just
Right.
signs plastered on the building, and who reads them, who doesn't, and who's still going to go into the water and go outside of the swim buoys and on a raft or something. If something happens, it just that's an awful feeling.
Yes, I agree. And just the fact that we have it there and people want to use it, it'd be smart for us to come up with something that works. Maybe you could hire one full-time lifeguard, and we could share one of Sheila's. I don't know. And not full-time, maybe not 7 days a week, but something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's something definitely to kick around as we get to tonight is really just kind of for me, it's a step off just to,
Yeah.
I think that to Fiona's point of maybe hiring a professional, I'd like to take a stab just with our group and with our office to kind of come up with, to go through the summer months, to go through the winter months, to go through George Nowotny, Public Works Director's policy on the winter and so forth, how we're going to handle sledding and all that stuff. I think that, it would be nice for us to just take a stab at it and create an outline, and here you go, and then have some other people look at it.
Yeah, and the town helps us with things like this too. If the word is put out there, who's interested in using Mixville in this way, we need support from them.
Yeah, I mean, if I could step in, I think there's a lot of potential in this park, right? I think we realize that just looking at Paul's list of items that he said he's going to share with you. I mean, there is so much potential in things that John has stated. People have reached out in terms of what they'd like to see, paddle boats or canoes. But I do think it's beyond our expertise, unless there's someone here who has that expertise. I know it's beyond my expertise in terms of assessing. I mean, even skate, if we were to think about in the wintertime, turning it parts of Mixville into a skate park, I don't know if there are shallow ponds there that could be open for skating.
We used to skate there.
Yeah, so, that is a lot of potential for the town. But I do think that it's going to involve some coordination and some expertise. And so that's why looking at what we did with Bartlam, I think was brilliant in terms of bringing in the community, gaining some some input. So then you have community buy-in too, because then if we're going to be looking to the town to spend some money on this park, we have to know that we're providing them with what they want. So I think that whole process of meeting with members of the community, you've been receiving some emails from people, but opening up the doors for people to really speak about what they would like to see in that park, what they're willing to perhaps pay a little extra for in that park, and then for us to come up with a comprehensive plan. But I agree there are some short-term things we could work on, because that's long-term. We're still, Bartlam is, first it's schools in this town, right? So they're focusing on that, and then Bartlam. And, Mixville, I think perhaps is the next place for investment, really, that's ripe for potential investment. But it's going to require some time. So I think we come up with some short-term plans. And I think Paul's list and the group that looked at the winter plans, there's some things that we can do short-term. But long-term, I think we would want to be more strategic, and we want to be careful because of the wildlife in the area. And so we want to be able to protect the wildlife and the water systems in the area. So that's just something we don't want to make choices that are going to infringe upon that either. So just those are my thoughts in terms of looking at what has been presented.
Yeah, no, and I think those are all good points and valid points. I think maybe I can make a few phone calls to some different consulting groups just to see if they could meet me there and kind of just do like a quick, not a proposal, but just, what would it take to maybe come up with some sort of a management plan, given the pavilions and the open space and the waterfront? Because the Bartlett one, that was a lot of money because there's a lot of physical changes happening there. At Mixville, it's really more of a management issue than it is the physical changes. I mean, there are some that we're going to be taking care of in-house, but it's more of kind of getting your hands around, a boat rental operation, or are we going to do the concession and open that up? And what kind of program do we have for concessions? Are we going to have, just pre-wrapped things, or a deep fat fryer for fries and Paul's favorite pizza dough, stuff like that? How extravagant do you get? And then, incorporating the change of the seasons and what programs come in and what goes out. So, maybe in the long run, that doesn't really cost us a lot, and we could save some time and really move on it. So I'll make some calls tomorrow and see what I can come up with, and maybe for the next meeting, share something.
And it would be nice, because I know that isn't there the old trolley line, like on top of the sled hill? Isn't that where the old, like?
Tow rope.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think there's something still there.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of potential, and so connecting, because I know talking with folks with like some of the open spaces and looking at, there's the trail up there along the ridge and connecting that to Mixville. So there's a lot to think about. That's all.
We have enough money set aside for something like this that we could begin now?
Well, I don't know if we do, Pat. We don't, because we don't have anything like that in our budget. But I know the town manager has a planning line. I've used that a couple of times to do the assessments for community pool for the HVAC system.
Okay.
And then for the actual physical pool plant, we combined both of those and came up with a comprehensive plan to, do some capital planning appropriately and get an inventory of everything that's in the pool once you walk through the door, and its lifespan and replacement costs and years of, shelf life of some of the different equipments that's there. So, I could see from Sean, because maybe this is not something we do right now, but with the new budget, if he has a line that we could tackle, and I'll scout out and just hypothetically call a few people and just say, what kind of fee am I looking at for these types of services? But I want to bring them there so that they can at least see that, and maybe it's not going to cost a whole lot. I mean, both of those two studies at the pool involved a couple of day visits and some documents and a couple of meetings. And I think both of them were done, including both of them, for less than $14,000. So it's not a huge sum of money. So I'm thinking maybe 5,000 or 6,000, maybe. When we did we were doing a master plan for the kiddie pool. Instead of repairing the kiddie pool, maybe looking to do a splash pad indoors. And I think that was like $5,600 or something. So it might not be that bad. So I'll get on it, make some calls.
Elizabeth, are you still going? Do you have more to?
Sorry, I was on mute there. What other questions would we specifically like to have addressed? So regarding the
I don't know if
boating.
you got stopped in the middle of what you were doing or not.
Yeah, I kind of got to the boating, and then there is work that needs to be done around the edges of the pond. We had kind of started. I know Mark and Suzanne and I had gone out there a couple of years ago and talked about some stuff around the edges, but I didn't make it back to planning and the inland wetlands. I was talking about writing a narrative up, and that didn't end up happening because any brush cleanup around the shores does have to go through them. So they're all things that can be done, and it's just a matter of getting to that point with not a ton of people around. So I think there are a lot of great ideas being shared here, and a lot of potential that exists out of the park. I think that's kind of where I ended as far as Mixville in the summers. And then again, the lifeguards, it's just going to be tricky to figure out what the best thing to do is. I mean, obviously it's always best to have lifeguards at a facility because that's the gold standard, is having the water be protected. But even just deciding which hours are right, because I've been a lifeguard, and the second the lifeguards go off duty, all the fun stuff starts. That's when all the rafts come out and people drag them out of the car. And as you're walking to your car, you can hear it. You know the difference about what people are choosing to do when it's not guarded versus when the lifeguards are there enforcing the rules. So unless you have the lifeguards there during all daylight hours or during all hours, it's obviously better anytime lifeguards are there. But as soon as they're not there, like I said, that's when the rules all get broken and people do whatever they felt like because they think it's fun and they don't understand the safety reasons behind it and why lifeguards are such spoil sports.
I wonder if certified high school lifeguards would volunteer hours towards community service. Maybe.
I've got strong doubts in that area, Karen. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's hard enough to fill the lifeguard hours with paid lifeguards at
Yeah,
that
I
age.
know. But
So
then again, they don't like to do other things, so maybe they would like to do just something they know. I'm just,
It's a big responsibility
yeah, I know.
here.
Yeah, I know. All right.
It requires a lot of training too for certifications.
Well, yeah, they would have to be certified already.
Okay.
Okay.
Paul?
Oh, Pat, is that where you wanted me to talk about the public comment? Did I
Yeah.
miss your cue?
No, that's okay. Elizabeth, would you like to talk about the public comment that we received?
I really do.
from
Can you
Mr.
guys
Hall?
tell I'm eager?
I think
All right,
Mr.
good
Hall
one.
has something to say.
So we got a communication via email from a Jason Hall. It says, "Good morning. My name is Jason Hall, and I'm a longtime resident of Cheshire, pretty much my whole life, minus college. I wanted to reach out because I recently learned about the possibility of a disc golf course coming to Cheshire, and I think this is an amazing idea and opportunity for the town to add to our already awesome parks. I, like many others, started playing disc golf in the summer of 2020 as a way to spend time with my friends outdoors during the pandemic. Since my first game, I was hooked. Since then, I've spent pretty much every weekend, while I may have skipped some during the winter, out on different courses across Connecticut. Disc golf has become a way for me to spend time with my friends and family, enjoy nature, and see parts of Connecticut I had never been to before. A disc golf course would be an amazing addition to Cheshire. The simplicity and affordability of the sport to both build courses and play them makes this an excellent investment into our park system for residents and neighboring communities alike. Disc golf is easy to pick up and play for players of all ages, and a good course can also bring some players from around Connecticut. I know my friends and I have traveled an hour or more to play the best courses, and when we do, we often spend time between rounds grabbing something to eat at a local restaurant. I'm excited to see the sport of disc golf grow, and I hope Cheshire can soon count itself as one of the towns with a course. I would personally lend my support with both labor and donations, and I know many players who would do the same. Thank you for your time, and please feel free to reach out with any questions or with any ways I can be more involved. Best, Jason Hall, 203-695-8550.
Thank you.
Elizabeth, do you have that map of the course? You want to share that?
Yep, give me just 1 second to pull that up.
So I've been meeting with a gentleman from Wallingford who built the Wallingford course, helped build the Guilford Park and Rec course, and has helped build some others out of state. Frisbee golf, or disc golf as it's called, is next to pickleball, is the next hottest, or one of the hottest thing going on in the country, believe it or not. I mean, if you could walk and throw a Frisbee, people are hooked and you could play. So we've walked Mixville at least 3 or 4 times. And this is just a hypothetical, we would still have to make a presentation to Inlands Wetlands and any other group that we would need to talk to. I don't know if you could enlarge that just a little bit, Elizabeth.
Oh, look at that.
Is
I
that-
maybe can. Is that,
So from what he tells me, and he's been playing up and down the eastern seaboard, he said that this course for the state of Connecticut could easily be it's a top 5 course just the way it is, just given the property, because you have a mixture of wooded areas, you have a water course, you have open areas, in the back, and then that last, hole number 18 from the top of the sled hill right down to the bottom. Obviously, some of the tee baskets would have to be appropriately placed and, not in the way of the walking trails and so forth. But that's kind of what an 18-hole course would look like if we were to lay it out this way, minus some modifications. But he thinks easily it could be a real huge attraction. So something that I would like to pursue, something I'd like to plan. It's an activity and it's an amenity that doesn't really cost a whole lot. You're talking probably about $12,000 for the tee baskets and any minor work for like tee pads that could be natural, and just have some fun.
So when people go and play somewhere else, are they paying a fee to get on? In other words, is that going to generate money for us?
Not this one. I mean, there are some private courses in the state. There's one in Norwich that just opened up that they're charging $10 a day to go play. You have Wickham Park, which I think is in Manchester. That's a private. I don't know if it's a town park, but there is a pay to play feature there. But most of the other courses that are laid out in town parks are for free. Like the one in Wallingford is free.
They'd have to pay for parking though, right? A parking pass?
Oh, here? Good question. Yeah, they would have to pay for, the day pass to be in the
Yeah.
park.
Yeah, so that would help give us some income.
Oh, sure.
I think it's great.
So it's just another idea to bring to the table. I think that, it's just the park begs for something like this, I think, anyway. But we could discuss it, and I'm just going to do a little bit more research on it.
I think it's great.
The other thing, while we do have this map up, one thing that we don't really have is any walkways from the parking lot to the beach area to maybe, the whole length of the pond to the basketball court. And, I don't know if that's something that should be considered. People that have some mobility issues, it doesn't really give them many options because you're going over some tough terrain.
John, the brick project that I'm researching right now,
Yep.
We've talked about it in the past meetings, but you can lay walkways with the bricks and people can have things engraved on it, whether it be, a family graduation or whatever. You can print anything on these bricks and purchase them. Or maybe that's a way to raise some money and put a walkway in.
Well, I love it. I mean, the other consideration too is Public Works, and the more that we lop on, and they're already behind the 8 ball. And, I'm just, when you look at, as we're taking a look at the overall picture and the management plan of this park, is a landscape architect or a designer going to say, well, you really need to have some greater access for everybody to be inclusive to this park, instead of just coming down that main drive and then, off the circle, that's it. There's no other sidewalk or anything to get to, the basketball court, the small pavilion, or, any area up and down the shoreline. So that's just another something that I wanted to kind of throw into the mix was some sort of a path. I don't know what the right treatment is. Certainly we'd have to consult with Public Works, and because that would have to be maintained and taken care of. Maybe the bricks are used, around some of the benches or the concession stand, or if we repurpose the guard shack. I mean, there's probably, some good opportunities for something like that at Mixville as well. So, all right, Elizabeth. All right, Pat. Where'd he go?
He left.
He's had enough.
He
He's had
left
enough.
us.
We lost Pat.
Mr. Chairman.
We can skip him.
Oh, we lost him
Looks like he
off.
just lost connection
Mike,
entirely.
you're up. Mike, you're up.
Who?
Mike, you're it. Go
Play.
to the bullpen.
Bring
Let's
the
go.
righty in. Bring the righty in.
Bring the righty in.
We caught all you
All right,
guys.
we'll
cheating.
stall for a minute, see if Pat comes. No, all right.
They saw I was talking. They ran.
What's next on the agenda? The winter policy. Steve?
Yep, so, on the same token with Mixville, I actually sat and, last meeting, I believe it was last meeting, we had Frankie Salvatore join us and talked about Mixville Park in the winter. So I sat with him and went over some ideas, and ironically, Mike O'Donnell sent me a list of, hey, Steve, here's some ideas that I think we should have as well. And they're not very expensive. It's a matter of access to the park during the winter, where DPW would come in and have to plow it. And what would that schedule be? As Paul, you talked about that a little bit, clearing out the lot. Basically, do we make the hill accessible to people? Are there directions on the hill so you're walking up one way and you're sledding down the other? We're marked, so the only thing you're doing is sledding there. We're not snowboarding on it. We're not skiing, etc. And then there was the talk of, what about skating? What about bringing skating back to the park? As Karen, you had mentioned years ago, people skated there. And Mike even had an idea that we put the skiing rink down there as well. Is that a place for it?
Might be a good spot.
So, then you have a place for little kids to skate as well. You're not putting them on the ice there. So
Do you need that hot water, Steve? I mean,
I'm not sure what we need for that. Is that the case, Elizabeth? Hot
Need
water?
a restroom or?
Yeah, Mark can definitely speak to that, but I believe, yes, hot water.
Yeah, to resurface the ice, you need hot water.
because there's not a
Got
bad location. If you walk east of the playground, going towards the beach, in between like the trees and the basketball court, there's like a natural depression there that already fills up with water. It'd actually be a nice place to put the Skeena liner in there if you didn't need to have to kind of groom the ice every day to make it, nice. I don't know if there was a way to pump water out of Mixville Pond or something and use some of that water to do that. But, that's labor intensive too. And should Public Works be doing that on a daily basis to, for a small skating rink? I don't know.
That's the only way to do it is with hot water?
I guess to get a good smooth surface. Mark that.
Yeah,
Well, I
yeah,
guess
to
it depends. Yeah,
resurface it, you need
surface.
water.
Hey, Pat.
If you put cold water on it,
No, just you.
it doesn't dry evenly. You
Bumps,
get
right?
ripples bumping.
Yeah.
Those are just, again, it was all brainstorming. I know that Frank Salvatore, he had talked to Rob Orris too. Rob was considering taking a walk through the park with him as well to get some ideas. So as far as the sledding end of it, it's, there's not a lot of maintenance requirement. It's more just putting up signs, roping off an area. The maintenance would be really the access to the hill, which would be plowing and shoveling. And then the skating part was a whole nother ordeal. Would we need additional lighting down at Mixville? That question had come up. I wasn't sure on that. So there's some ideas, kind of going along with what Paul and Fiona were talking about.
The other thing that we probably need to consider too is if you happen to go down there, now that the gatehouse will be demoed at some point, we're going to have to create some new signage. We have signs everywhere, going up to the big pavilion, coming off of the parking lot, going towards the beach. There's all kinds of signs wrapped around the gatehouse. It would be nice to kind of come up with some uniform rules or policies. We probably should be talking at the next meeting about maybe some of these, especially with with swimming and boating or paddleboarding or anything like that. If we feel we need to, or at least kind of come up with some generic, and then maybe add those as we get information or we want to do certain things. But that's another one for me, is there's just so many different signs, and it'd be nice just to have, pockets or just, orderly, nice, neat signs that say what they mean and they mean what they say.
Mark, I have a question. For the wintertime with sledding, would it be possible to have that parking lot and driveway and circle plowed out within like 2 days after a regular storm?
Regular storm, yes.
Okay, I understand a major storm, the people aren't even gonna get out, so I'm not as much worried about that one. But I mean, an average 6-inch storm, within 48 hours, you could have that cleared up so people could get in there to sled. Okay, and if we did decide to go with the ice skating, would you guys be able to do core samples and figure out when that pond was adequate for people to skate on it?
I don't know. We have to research what would have to be done and how, who decides and stuff like that. Since, we could talk to Dave, who's been there probably since they did do that. But I don't know if they did the core samples themselves, but we could definitely look into.
Yeah, can you research into how we would come to a point where, as a town, we could say this ice is thick enough for people to skate on?
Yeah, I'm not sure who did that. I remember growing up in my town, the fire department used to come out and do that.
I was just saying, yeah.
So, yeah, that'd be a good question, a little research. I'll see if I can
I
find
don't do it anymore.
And we also have to clear off the ice.
That was on there too. Somebody has to clear an area that's going to be open for the skating. We're not going to do the whole pond. We're going to do a certain area, core it, make sure it's safe. And then we'll put up signs that say, ice is too thin, but then we'll have other signs that'll say, ice is acceptable.
I think this kind of goes back to what Fiona was saying with possibly hiring an outside person, because maybe we should really just consider this as a proposal for a winter park. Where it has all of these activities. Obviously, we'd have to have more money in the budget, more staff, more money, whatever. If the town would like something like this, it's not just something we can slip in and think that the park department can take care of it all. So maybe it's a bigger.
Yeah, that's why I just went with the simpler things of just snow blowing, and then we got to figure out who can core the ice, because I don't want somebody going on the ice when it's not safe.
Yeah, no.
So we have to make sure.
You check more than once a day too. It might be fine early, and then towards the end of the day, it might be worse. So
I don't know.
that's just not a one-time thing.
Well, it's something
That's the problem.
We need to know how to do it.
We got to get the safety procedures that have to be in place for it.
It's a constant battle.
And I'm thinking the park would only be open during the daytime for now. At nighttime, you close it and shut the gates, and it's too dangerous.
Things
to
are
have people
so
there at
much
night.
easier when we were little.
Well, it used to be lit.
We used to just go.
Well, it used to be, the hill used to be lit,
Yeah.
if you remember.
Only sometimes.
Was it
My
even
dad-
cold enough? Was it even cold enough for the pond to freeze this year?
Oh,
Was
yeah.
the pond frozen?
All the
this year?
time.
No,
this year?
You mean it's this year?
This year.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't think it was, I don't
No,
think
it
it would have been.
wasn't. Oh, it snowed once.
Because
No,
we
it
used to,
No.
in Wallingford, we used to have the Galco Farm Pond, which is just past the Farms Country Club. And on the north side, the pond was spring fed, or it is spring fed. But on the north side, it gets to be about 9 feet deep. And the area that we used to have for skating, it was shallow, but towards the middle, it would get to be about 5-6 feet deep. And Public Works would core it, but it'd have to be like 6.5 to 7 inches thick. They would core it in the morning, and it would be good for the day, because you weren't going to get that kind of melt to get to the point where you were going to lose 2 or 3 inches of ice. He's back.
Well, we used to have it roped off, so it was probably only in the swimming area. So it was never that more than like 5 feet deep anyway.
Yeah.
And
then the other thing we'd have to consider too is with the beach sand, we'd have to come up with some sort of matting or some kind of system where people could, walk with their skates from the benches that are there and get into the ice and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the ice is all depending on the weather.
Yeah.
Like this year we had a lot of snow, but not a lot of freezing cold.
Well, if you put
So
the
you
rink
never probably
in,
would have got it.
if you put the rink in, we won't have a problem, actually. We won't even need to go on the pond.
Yeah, but the rink's not for hockey. And a lot of these kids want to play pond hockey. And you can't play that in the rink.
You can't have everything, Mike.
No, I'm not saying yet. I'm not saying, but
I'm kidding.
that's what they're looking for. They're looking for a
Oh.
place to play pond hockey.
Oh, we were talking skating. You guys didn't talk about that.
Oh, Frank said it. He said pond hockey. Yeah. This way you get both. If you have the rink in there, you can have both. You can be
Well,
teaching
boys
somebody
ice
to
or
skate.
girls ice, how's that?
Well, I guess I'm just thinking about
I didn't say that.
public being able to enjoy the ice skating, not a whole nother sport. We got enough sports. Jeez.
Yeah, you do both. All right, I'm turning the meeting back over to Pat because I see him.
Thanks. Nice
Mike's get out of
segue.
here.
I'm
Mike's
done.
out.
Thank you.
Speaking of
Glad to
segue,
see you, Pat.
shut up.
I don't know what happened, but
You missed
Nancy
it.
came over and pulled my computer thing out.
We
Yeah.
solved all the problems of the town. We can adjourn.
So where are we?
We don't know.
We just got to the winter section of, Steve
Okay.
gave a report on the winter section of Mixville.
Yeah.
So we're on new business C.
Forward.
Well, did we want to talk about, back to B, about opening up the other parks? If it's necessary or we want to, as far as, I think the other part of this is that, with the winters being the way they have been, except for this winter, when I was in Wallingford, I used to keep all the nets up so that, you would get 40 to 50 degree days in December, January, popping up in February, and people just want to be outside. So, we left the nets up this year, and then we got whomped with a couple of snowstorms. One that cleared out, but then we had lingering snow for 2 or 3 weeks, and then it just created some issues with accessibility to some of the parks, and not really having a policy. So we don't have to tackle it today, but maybe it's something that you want to think about. Do we want to have an official close of the parks? Do we want to keep the parks open and accessible? Should we leave the nets up? We don't take the nets down from basketball courts. So because I've heard that before. Oh, you're going to take the tennis nets down, but you leave the basketball nets up. What about us? So everyone has like laying their stake and their claim to things. So obviously we wouldn't have to open up Quinnipiac Park or McNamara. Do we just limit it to Mixville? Bartlett is open because of school and the pool. Do we want to open up both sides of Cheshire Park? I'll
Linear
open it
park.
up.
The
I'm
linear
sorry?
parks. The
And
linear
the-
parks.
In the linear park. So we could just kind of leave it at that and maybe talk about it some more at the next meeting, or think about it and share your thoughts next time.
How well do tennis nets do over the winter?
Actually pretty good.
Yeah. Good.
I mean, we were out there today at the youth center courts, or yesterday with Elizabeth, and they held up really well.
Okay.
Mark, do you still plow any parts of the linear path in the winter?
Yeah, they do the section from, Cornwall down to South Brooksville, I believe. There's a small section they do. We do plow the trail.
And you open up the parking lots for those areas. I know
Yes.
we used to keep North Brooksville to Hamden open for people like to snowshoe or cross-country ski.
Yeah.
Okay, so those
Yeah.
parking lots are open.
Yes, the only ones we don't plow are the one is off of Jarvis Street and Railroad Avenue.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Pat, I'm good on that one, unless anybody else wants to share thoughts now, or just kind of, bring it back next time. And give it a little.
Want to move on to
more
C
thought.
then, John?
Sure. Public Works has been doing a really good job of getting the fields lined this week for in mode for the high school boys and girls lacrosse. You know, fields have been open for a couple of weeks. I know lacrosse was getting anxious because, you know, those fields still over at Bartlam just don't drain well. And even today, field 2, M2 is still squishy. It's just really, you know, it's going to get to a point if right now the weather's been really good and cooperative, but if we get some periods of rain, especially when we're getting rid of this, you know, it's a spring thaw, you know, what is the plan? You know, do we go to soccer and say you got to give up, you know, 1 or 2 fields, 1 or 2 days a week? You know, how does that impact them? You know, the high school, you know, they don't have the extra fields because they have to service what they need. You know, the town becomes very limited with the rectangular field. So this was just more of just a report, unless someone else has some ideas of where to put people. You know, we're putting rugby, you know, the high school rugby up at Upper Mixville off of Mixville Road, and some of those upper field that was used for when they were dredging the pond. Rugby thought it was like the greatest thing since sliced bread because it was like their own area. They're not practicing in a parking lot. They're not practicing at an elementary school that has poor field conditions, and they're very much appreciative. But if it's not there, where do we put them? You know, it's soccer has that lock on to Quinnipiac, and you know, I've heard all the history and how that used to be a baseball field closer to the sewer treatment plant coming out. There used to be lacrosse, high school lacrosse was played there, you know, before it was, you know, all dedicated to soccer. So I'm making you aware of it because at some point we may have to cross that bridge, or there may be another user group angry with me because I'm trying to balance and make equal, well, not even equal, but just, you know, provide some space for the lacrosse community, you know, which is rather large in town. So that's just to keep on your mind. And then I met with Mr. Hayden, who runs the Cheshire Challengers group. And I met him over at Darcy. And Darcy's another one of those fields that is just predominantly wet for a long time. Their season doesn't start till May 1st, which is really good and helpful because, you know, by then we're through, you know, some rainy periods and weather seems to be nice. The Board of Ed will go in there and cut their field out, but then, you know, they're going to need some spotty maintenance. They're there once a week during the week, and then they play on Saturdays. They play on Wednesdays and Saturdays. So we were just talking about some short-term goals for him and then some long-term goals. And talking with Sean Kimball, and then Sean actually brought up the property, the 10 acres across from Cheshire Park, which I guess the state of Connecticut, the prison property, had deeded to the town of Cheshire at one point for fields for CYB, CYS. So Mr. Hayden has some large corporate connections that we were going to sit down this summer and kind of create some long-term planning and see if anything works towards that particular property and maybe work towards it. There's the Challenger, or Field of Dreams, and then there's the Challenger. There's 2 different organizations that have a national program where they have some of these, they're turf fields, they're small. It's a turf baseball field with an overlay of a soccer field to accommodate inclusive baseball and, you know, rectangular type sports for that population. So I just wanted to kind of let you know about that, what's happening. CYB has actually been very responsive because I guess there's been a disconnect the last 3 or 4 years, but they're talking now so that they can maybe schedule some fields or provide some areas so that when Darcy is underwater or Darcy's unplayable, CYB would make accommodations at Cheshire Park or McNamara or wherever they need to go that would be suited for their group. So I just wanted to kind of clue you in there. And there may be, I don't know if anybody wanted to be part of that long-term solution. And and I don't know how viable it is. You know, you look at that property and it's up on a hill. You know, I don't know what that would even begin to cost to develop, but I'm sure it's a hefty number. But so we're working on that. On D, does anybody have any comments about that before I move on to D? The mobile ice cream park bid. If you remember a year ago, Tommy, the ice cream man, came to the office with wanted to pay me $2,700 for an ice cream bid. Bob used to do a 3-year bid. So I kind of went through the town manager's office, and long and short, there's a different process, and it should go out to go out through a public bid. So I sent a copy to Elizabeth. It's like a 30-page document, but maybe you could get to the specifications page. So
You want me to just read the whole thing, Pat?
No.
I don't think anybody's gonna want to bring ice cream in with that.
So you know, I did do a 2-year bid with a minimum bid of $3,000 for a 6-month period. So it's $500 a month. He was already used to paying $2,750. I don't know if he'll go for it or if there's another one out there, but I just wanted to be fair because, you know, Tommy is a non-resident. He's from Waterbury. And you never know if there's someone in Cheshire. I just didn't want to do what we used to do in the past. So I used to do this in Wallingford. We do a public bid. We used to do it per park. So you would bid on a park and not all of the parks at once. So this is all of the parks at once, because I just don't know if there's that many vendors that are out there. So the minimum bid would be $3,000, and the winner would go to the highest bidder for proposal. So these are, if you just want it, and I could send this to you too, so you don't have to just read and try to comprehend everything. But these are just some of the specs that I put together that will be part of the RFP that if you guys are okay with, you know, I'd like to put out next week or something, because the ice cream season is here and he's already going into the parks.
Was he the vendor that was involved in that problem out on West Farms Road? I think it was not West Farms Road.
Weiss Road.
Weiss Road.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was or not, Pat.
Okay.
I do know with our new town attorney, you know, he's aware of, I guess there's pending legislation
Right.
at the Capitol now. So, you know, the rest of the bid language has things in there. And we also put it here in the spec too, that, you know, if the General Assembly passes some of those acts concerning those things that did occur, that's before them now, that, you know, whoever the successful proposal is, they'll have to, you know, outfit their truck at their own cost for those things or forfeit the bid.
What happens with the vendors that come to the concerts?
So those are on invitations through our office. So it's separate.
Okay.
And there's
So they're
language
not-
in
they
here.
don't qualify.
There's language in here that talks about that, you know, that we have a right
Okay.
to, you know, to do for our own events and so forth, that, you know, there's nothing back to them. You know, they can't make any claim for losing anything or not having exclusive rights and all that stuff.
Okay. And is there a certain certificate of insurance that the ice cream vendor is going to have?
Oh yeah, that they need to have their truck inspected by Chesprocott. They'll have to get a local health permit, you know, the sanitarian permit to be able to vend.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, that would be, I'd like to read it in more detail.
Okay, so, I'll send it out tomorrow to everybody in the commission. The whole RFP proposal. Take a look at it. If you feel that there needs to be edits or something you don't like, just make your comments and we can discuss it. Sound good?
Great.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we've never had a contract in the past. I'm just someone new to this. This is a new process you're proposing.
So there was a contract by a former director, a few directors ago. And then when the ice cream vendor came to my office my first summer, and I had 30 years of experience with him in Wallingford. And in Wallingford, we did have a bid process. When I inquired within our own office of what we had, previous director had created a brief contract, set a 3-year term and set the dollar amount. Lo and behold, when it was brought to the attention of the town manager, that was something that he shouldn't have been doing legally. So I just wanted to clean it up. I'm not direct dealing with one vendor. I'm opening up the process to other people. And then you have the whole, language and all the protections that the town should have. And then I guess, the council really has the power of the town manager to sign contracts, not the individual department head in this case. So that's a process we're cleaning up.
Thank you.
All right, Pat. And then on letter E, last month there was Mrs. Horn had emailed my office. She lives adjacent to Cheshire Park and goes there with her grandson, who's 4 years old, has Down syndrome, and they love the park, but they had noticed that there was no baby swing or an accessible swing at the park. And I never really noticed it because when you drive by or drive in, the swings are perpendicular to Route 10. So when you look, you just see, one arch. You don't see the whole, the 2 different bays with all 4 swings. So we had gone down there, taken some photos, and lo and behold, there's 4 belt swings. So I talked to George, Public Works, and he okayed the money right away. And I talked to the vendor who supplied us with the swings to make sure that if we were able to take out 2 belt swings, that we could, be compliant with putting in a tot swing and an accessible swing side by side. And he said we could. So those are on order, and they're hopefully going to be delivered this week or next week, and we'll have them installed, and we'll make some residents happy. So I just wanted to put that on there. It was a good story.
We'll have to thank George for acting quickly.
Yeah, no, it was excellent. I sent them the email the same day and said sure, and we got right on it. So.
Okay, John, you're up again.
Yeah. So number 1, community pool. We have a head guard, lifeguard position open. Nate is moving to Florida. We had one candidate. We interviewed her. Was determined not to be a good fit. So we've gone back out through Indeed and some other professional areas to see if we can attract a head guard, or at least a better pool of candidates. We still have a boiler issue at the pool. The old boiler, the boiler is running, it's operating. It's kind of interesting because there's 2 different vendors that service the mechanical aspect of that pool, and they both have their own components in there. And so since October, we haven't been able to get to the bottom until a few weeks ago, what the real problem is at the pool. So in essence, you have one vendor claiming that the other vendor's equipment's not working properly and vice versa. So every time that there's an issue, we're bringing both on and we're paying twice for one issue. The newer boiler, the newer efficient, smaller boiler was offline for almost 3 months. So the bigger boiler, the older one that's been there, has just been churning and chewing up energy. We finally were able to get to the bottom of it with one provider and come up with a solution. So right now it's working, but remotely, Sheila, Dean, the pool maintainer, and the company that's servicing it cannot see it remotely. So if there's any alerts or anything goes down, it's not until the next day that there's a physical person in the pool that could, address any concerns with the boiler. So I've been working with Sean for the last 2 weeks, Sean Kimball. They were able to find some money in an account dedicated for energy upgrades. And we're going to the council on Tuesday. This particular fix will eliminate the two competing vendors and go with the one that we would prefer that's been responsive to the tune of about $12,000. We've already spent $11,000 since October troubleshooting it. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. The Chapman RFP, it's still hanging. Tomorrow night is our department's budget workshop. At the end of my presentation, I do have, if the chairman will allow me, I do have the answers to the 5 questions that they had put out there back in January 26th. If you wanted to go over them or put it off, but I just, hopefully there's going to be some time to go over that. It's in my budget presentation just to kind of give them the answers and hopefully get an adoption or not get an adoption or, wherever it stands. I don't know in the grand scheme of, the budget and school modernization committee needs. So hopefully we can get some answers on that. The gatehouse, I told you, will be coming May 26th. It's a modular unit. I went with a Cheshire vendor, Best in Backyards, down the street from our office. Janice Bowery helped us out. She was instrumental in helping me design what we needed to have at the park and get it before Memorial Day. So kudos to her. We talked about Mixville Park already. I know Rob offered his services at some point when things calm down. Maybe we could pick up the conversation or with a few of us have a cup of coffee and just kind of lay out, what kind of heavy lift is creating a foundation or a friends group, even if it's just a friends group of Mixville, because we talked about that at the last meeting. We could just kind of kick some ideas around, commit something.
Whenever you're free, let me know.
Okay, thanks, Rob. Field distributions, we had those meetings. Everybody seems to be happy right now. I just have to find some time to take the master schedule and input it into the school's FS Direct system and then into our own management system so that Public Works can get the weekly detail of what parks need to be lined and groomed and all that stuff. So hopefully by the week's end or by next week, we can take care of that. The dog park shelter, Mark gave me an answer. Right now, the group, the parks guys are so busy getting everything with the spring done. I know the dog park group reached out to me yesterday, wanting to know when their gazebo was going to be put up. Public Works had designs to do it before that last storm. Then we just got, taken away with snow and ice, and it wasn't conducive to put it up. And then you just flip the switch to spring, and everybody wants to be on fields, and there's just getting the bathrooms de-winterized, getting the garbage cans out, all the park field stuff. There's just a lot that has to get done. So hopefully, a couple of weeks when things calm down, or maybe next month, that gazebo can go up. Park and Rec ordinances. I haven't heard anything from the town council ordinance committee. Obviously, they're probably trying to get through budget, and that's maybe something that they'll pick up post the budget. The community pool assessment, that last mechanical assessment, there were some minor code compliances that Mike Kozlowski, the fire marshal, agrees need to get done. I don't know what that's gonna cost, but it'll be at the pool. But I didn't put down specifically what they were, but if you needed to know, if you want to email me, I could let you know what it is or report on it at the next meeting. Park projects, Mark already talked about that. The Cheshire Park Pavilion, I did meet with Jim Bowman in my office today about the Mark Jardum sign. Tim Weed had done a mock-up. I'm not sure if did I send it to you guys?
No.
Elizabeth, do you have that? I had sent it to Sean Kimball just to make sure because there really wasn't any instructions on the size, how big, what type of font. You know, the council did approve the text. Tim had done a mock-up. I shared it with Sean. This is at Cheshire Park. This would be when you pull into the pavilion, pull into the parking lot just past the tennis pickleball courts. You would see it right there. I did meet with Jim today, and he likes the color. He likes everything on there. They would like to chop the corners, like make it like a stop sign, so it's not a hard rectangle. And then he wanted to drop the 1981 underneath Cheshire JCs. So we met on that today, and I called the sign company. They're going to give me another mock-up. So when I get the final one, I could send it out to you too. I don't know if anybody has any feelings or edits on it. I just put it out because I just wanted to make sure that the committee who brought this to the council wasn't disappointed that we picked something that was just, not nice or didn't meet
How
their
about color?
expectations. What's that?
How about color? I don't think the pavilion's blue.
No, well, that's like a brown with the white. You see, that's the color that, as you see it, we wanted to kind of blend in with, the side of the facade of the roof of the pavilion and not be like, wow, here's Hollywood, yellow, green, blue, just kind of subtle.
What material they're gonna use for a sign? Is it wood or metal?
No, it's something, it's not wood. I think it's like a metal or something that will withstand or be able to be.
From aluminum stock material.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
And what was the point for the year? When they proposed this at 1981?
No, that was
Yeah,
when I guess the
that's fine. Thank you.
JCs built the pavilion or dedicated the pavilion. So
Right.
instead of having it off to the side, he liked the look of it underneath.
Oh, I see. I thought you were going to take it off. Okay.
No. Nope. It's gonna go underneath the Cheshire JCs. I'll send out the
That's fine.
facsimile when I get it.
That's fine.
Let's see. Summer concerts. I'm waiting till tomorrow to see what the council does with the celebration account. Hopefully they don't touch it. It actually would be nice to be able to offer 4 concerts. We did move them to August instead of mid-July start. Hopefully we'll be able to assemble as a group and most people will be vaccinated and we don't have to worry about restrictions or limiting, the participation to any. We do have commitments of the 4 groups that we were going to plan on using last year. They're working with us and Power Station. I just need to know if the town council is going to keep the money in there for the celebrations, for the stage and for the concerts. I did get a call today from one prospective sponsor. We really haven't hit the pavement on it. I feel kind of awkward with that, with the way business has been. You don't know what businesses have been suffering and, are up against it. But I wanted to kind of get past this budget piece and then kind of know where we stand. And then if we have to put it out there, but certainly sponsors that just cold call like today, we're very welcome and willing to work with us. So that may be half of one concert that came in today. So I'll report more on that as we get through the budget. Park rentals, so we opened it up on Thursday. We were closed Friday. Stephanie's done about 35 of them. So park rentals have been hot and heavy for this summer. Elizabeth and Stephanie have been working on our new webpage. Our rec track has gone to a modern look. I'm not sure when we're going to go live with it, but Elizabeth, if you wanted to talk a little bit about it or just give
Would you guys like to see a preview?
Of course.
Sure.
All right, give me 1 second while John chats about it and I'll.
So yeah, so our webpage has been very, I don't want to say user friendly, but old and not nice. And the software company has gone through a major upgrade. I think people will find it more pleasing to use, easier to use, more of a point click instead of kind of hunting around for things and it not being clear and getting you to where you wanted to go now. And then also Stephanie and Elizabeth are going to be working on cleaning up the town unveiled their webpage last month. And our page is a little weak and still needs some work. So they're going to be working on that as well.
Just a quick question, John. Do we use PayPal for our online
No.
purchasing? No, we don't have
No.
PayPal.
Nope.
Can you guys see this now? I'm confused about what I'm
Yep.
sharing.
I can see it.
So
Yeah.
this is our new front look. We're still gonna need to fill a picture in up here across the top. But then we've got these nice tiles that are really easy. And when you click on, for example, recreation programs, it brings you to a different look here as well for all the different programs we have going on. If you're interested in signing up for one, you simply click here.
Oh, cool.
This one's actually full right now, so we can add it to the wait list. So that's a good sign. Our classes are filling up. Or here, you would be able to add it to your cart. If I go back, we also have links directly to therapeutic, pool programs, arts place, all our camps, and our pavilion rentals. Because we don't do those online right now, it redirects to the town website and shows you what the process is to rent. And there's the facility rental forms right here.
Very
And
easy.
then we have a placeholder down here for Mixville passes as soon as we decide exactly what that procedure is going to be. And the fees are set, then they'll be able to click right there and that'll bring them right to the online. But for now, it's just redirecting people to our homepage where we have all of our announcements and we'll be able to keep feeding stuff there. So we should be able to get that last image in there by the end of this week, if not tomorrow. And then we'll be happy to announce it on Facebook and do another one of our constant contact e-blasts with some other upcoming programs. And we're excited to be rolling that out really soon.
Looks great, Elizabeth.
Yeah, that looks fabulous.
Nice.
Think
Excellent.
you're gonna Be able to pay for passes for Mixville online then, with that website?
Yes, they will be able to, both day
Awesome.
or season, whichever they are looking to buy. And
That's
if it's a
great.
day pass, they would just show their receipt right there.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Nice.
Elizabeth. Looks really good.
That's nice.
I haven't even seen it yet either, so that's exciting. That's good.
And easy.
You're very easy.
Nice.
Tomorrow's our budget hearing at 6 o'clock. If you wanted to play along and offer some support. Pat, we're gonna do the park bench map program, or you said you're still
Yes.
working?
I'm working on that.
Okay, I'm gonna
The
start bringing
weather
my,
hasn't been too cooperative.
I'm gonna start bringing my bike to the office, so it's gonna be there.
Okay.
So anytime I go biking, let's go. Or
I
anybody
got
else.
I got a new odometer for mine, so I'm ready to roll again.
All right.
That'd be a sight.
And then the last thing was the fall festival. They're planning on having it, the chamber, in September. So I know it's only April, but it's never too late to maybe think about do we want to stage a table? Do we want to have a table? Do we want to have some giveaways? Do we want to have a theme? Do we want to highlight something? Karen, do you want to have some kids that you work with that want to maybe help us out, do some activities, or, you know, the community service? You know, so I just put that out there to maybe we could talk about as we get closer to, you know, September, but just have enough time to plan something or to do something.
We definitely should have a table.
I think we should have a table and we should be highlighting what we want to do at Bartland Park again. So it's been a while since anybody's seen it, and it might be a good
That'd be
time
nice.
right before the election, when it could be on the ballot, to show people what we're looking at. You want to sell it, it's the time to sell it.
Yeah, especially if they do something or if they adopt it and it's in the
If
budget.
if it's in the
before-
budget, I think we got to have that front and center.
Yeah.
Before referendum, because referendum would be in November.
It'll put it right on their minds right before November.
Okay. I'm good, Pat.
Hey,
Did you say something about the answers to the 5 questions, or is that you're going to bring that to the town council?
So I do have that. It's in my budget presentation. I don't know, Elizabeth, I did make some changes to it today. But that's still on there. Maybe Elizabeth can bring it up. So this is my brief presentation for tomorrow. Scrolling through it. So it is a little smaller. I did some editing changes, but if you look at the Bartland Park, gotta go back up. I moved it to the end when I was talking about it before, but I don't know if you could bring it up a little bit more so people, I know it's kind of tiny.
all right.
Can you guys?
I'm sorry, did I pass it again? And is
Yeah,
this
you-
big or small?
It's
Small.
small. It's
It's
small.
small.
It's
And you
like 3 or
passed it.
4, it's like 3 or 4
Let
slide.
me, I'm sorry.
So my new presentation revised, it's the last one. So, but for tonight's purposes.
This one,
Five,
Bartlam
there you
South
go.
Master
Yeah.
Plan.
Can that be bigger or no?
Well, the
I,
red
Can you
letters
zoom?
are better.
By the button in the bottom right,
Read it.
where it says 78%. Here we
thank
go.
you.
You got it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can only create things. I can't actually drive on them.
If you go into slideshow mode, I don't know.
That's where I tried to go before. So if I just present this one, see, the problem is let me switch.
Automatic settings, see?
I'm switching to a different screen. So
Right there.
ours-
No.
You want to just send it to
is
us?
that better?
That's
That's
better.
still-
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
That's
better.
good.
So one of the first question, I forget which council person brought it up, but they wanted to know if the plan can be modified to show the remaining softball field in its current layout. And it could. Obviously, we'd like it in the north-south or the northeast orientation. But that particular council person was concerned about the backstop being up against the driveway going into the park and leaving. But for purposes of the question and being able to answer it, we did provide a plan that shows the softball field in its current orientation. Then the softball field that would be eliminated, field 2, they wanted to know if it could be moved to the M5, M7 area, the rectangle fields in the back of the pool. That option would not be one that we would like to do because now you're gonna hack up or take away 2 fields of the rectangular out of the inventory. It would be nice to have another field there, but we need to have those rectangular fields, and those need to be worked on at some point. The next question, was there a current approved curb cut to the Chapman parcel to eliminate Elmwood Drive? The design team of the Pat, and a few council people in the town manager's office, Elizabeth and myself, We had gone through concepts at the preliminary stages and decided to move forward with the alignment of the driveway entrance with the intersection of Elmwood Drive. Weston and Sampson's, one of their traffic team leaders proposed this location as a logical one. Traffic light is not warranted. The alignment helps with decision-making process when the vehicles are directly aligned across from the street from each other, hopefully minimizing any risk of traffic incidences. You know, you have the old Chapman driveway there now, and then just a few, maybe, I don't know, 15 feet, you have the driveway to that commercial building that's right next door to Bartlum. Obviously, this is going to have to go through the state DOT and other probably other groups. But if this ever gets approved, as we go into the further design development, then, you know, we could talk about it again. Is there an opportunity to make the town green larger that was on the plan relative to the Great Lawn? Yes. Weston and Sampson nailed down the overall master plan showing, you know, all the items in a big picture plan of the site, incorporating all the different elements that people were looking for. The shifting, the nipping, the tucking, expanding is really part of the next stage. He said that the congregational church green is about 32,000 square feet. The proposed on the plan is 20,000 square feet, but a little bit more efficient because you don't have the corners of the town green, of the church green, where you have those pinch points that you really can't use. But certainly you could expand on that 20,000 square foot footprint. And again, that would, you know, if we get into the design phase, then you could kind of play with the different sizes that everyone that desires, you know, and that we could agree to. Can you eliminate the 6 or so trees adjacent to Route 10 that's on the plan for the town green? Weston and Sampson recommends not doing it. They're going to be raising the grade of the town green to the sidewalk, to the existing sidewalk. And the type of tree that they're going to spec will be vase-shaped crown with a minimum branch height. So there'll be clear visibility into the town green. And if you're familiar with South Main Street and Southbury, they kind of have this look right now. I did drop a picture into my presentation for tomorrow at the revised one. I had already sent this to Elizabeth, so it's not in there. Excuse me. But if you go on to their web pages or look at South Main Street, or if you've ever been down in Southbury, it's a really nice green, and you could, you know, have beautiful trees, and you could see right through to the other side. So that was all that they had left us with at the meeting. So, you know, the council hasn't brought us back. So I just want to kind of keep this going and at least give them this information so that when they decide that they want to take this up again, you know, at least these questions were answered.
Thank you, John.
Okay, Pat.
Good job.
Thanks. That's it, Pat. That's all I got.
Okay, all right. Karen, do you want to be on the agenda for next meeting?
Yes.
Okay,
What I would like the commission to think about is I'm looking at a brick project. We've talked about it a little bit in the past. And from what I've found out researching is it's best for us to go in obviously with a topic or a theme for our project. And I've thought of one that I'll throw out, and maybe others can come back next month with their ideas. But I thought possibly we could do a thank you brick project, which could be for past and present people. You know, whether it's a thank you to Dick Bartlum for starting the park, or past teachers, town managers, businesses, whatever, you know, to Paul's clothing store or for his business in town. I thought maybe it would be a way to include the community into being a part of the community, I guess. And not necessarily just asking for money for like our new project plan for the park, which sometimes can miff people, you know, always asking for money for us. And it'd be more like a reasonable amount of money to purchase a brick for everyone to be able to purchase one and put it into our project. Whether that be a walkway through our new park or maybe a small wall, brick wall on Route 10, separating.
So you know what? Paul put together an outline for what he was thinking about. If you could do that and then get it out to us before the meeting, then we could all,
Yeah.
you know,
I
work
just
on
thought I
that,
would
okay?
talk about it, so if people have their own ideas, we could talk about that too. This is just an
Right.
idea I have of a project.
Okay. All right. If there's nothing else, I'll take a
Anybody-
motion.
Motion to close the meeting?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.